B'Shem Hashem Na'aseh V'Natzliach. This week's Parsha is Mishpatim. It has so many numerous amount of mitzvot, over 100 according to many commentaries. Over 100, almost one-sixth of the commandments of the Holy Torah are incorporated in this week's Parsha. But I wanted to say a fascinating idea. If you look in chapter 22, passage 30, Chaf Bet Lamed, the Torah says, "Ubasar basadeh terefa lo tochlu lakelev tashlichun oto." It says that is a big mitzvah that if we have meat that is nevela or terefa, meat that was not shechted properly is nevela. It didn't have a kosher slaughter by a rabbi is considered nevela. It's unfit for a Jew. It's unkosher or terefa. It has its internal organs like its lungs or its stomach or liver have holes. It renders an animal terefa. So any type of unkosher animal, we are not allowed to eat. So what are we supposed to do with it? So the Torah commands us to give it to the dog. So the Mechilta says that why? Why must we give it to the dog? So any time that you come, it used to be people didn't have a kosher meat market, a butcher. You would get a shochet to come to your house and you would go from the marketplace, buy a goat or a lamb, share it with your neighbors and families, brothers and sisters, and and if heaven forbid, the rabbi didn't slaughter the animal properly or the animal had a hole in its heart or its lungs, you have to give it to the dog. Why? Because we know that the dogs did a Kiddush Hashem. Egypt was full of dogs. And God, when we left Egypt, God didn't want us that we should leave Egypt like a fugitive, running away from the law. We should leave Egypt with tremendous prestige and honor and so on and so forth. So the Torah says, "Ulechol bnei Yisrael lo yecheratz kerev leshono." When the Jews left Egypt, a miracle happened. The dogs all cooperated with God's scheme, with God's narrative, with God's miracle that the Jews should go out in a royal and noble manner, and not even one dog barked. So as a reward, the Mechilta says, we learn from here, you should know, even an animal, even 100 times more a human being, anything living that cooperates with God and listens to God, God rewards it. God's judgment is like a strain of a hair. It's perfect, God's judgment. So, since the dogs cooperated in Egypt, God rewards them that for thousands of years, they get all this non-kosher meat that is unfit for the Jew. The Chavetz Chaim in Shmirat HaLashon, page 69, Saditet says a beautiful thing. He says that we can learn a marvelous and truly outstanding, eye-opening lesson from this. The dogs of Egypt are not related to the dogs in Israel necessarily, or in America, or in Africa, or wherever the Jews lived. But because these dogs cooperated with God and they kept their mouths shut, for eternity till Mashiach comes, they get rewarded with this fresh, juicy meat, which is good. It's just unfit for the Jew. So the Chavetz Chaim says this is a very big wake-up call to us human beings. One of our main challenges to be a God-fearing and observant Jew, one of the most difficult tests that we're faced with every day is we're human beings are social, and we're always interacting with different people. And there's always that tendency to say some nice, juicy gossip, Lashon Hara. But let's never forget about the dogs. Maybe that's why there's so much dogs around. Just like the dogs were rewarded for thousands of years, every dog in the world, because they kept their mouths shut. So if we have an urge to do character assassination, to say some juicy gossip, talk about people's deficiencies and character flaws, and we don't, can you fathom the awesome and incomprehensible reward God would give a human being? If a dog, which really is just a lesson for us, a dog doesn't have free choice. We do have that free choice. We have free choice. And sometimes it's such a juicy to, start a nice conversation with your friend. Oh, you know what happened to Joe Schmo, But if we be quiet, that's why the Gra writes in his he brings from the holy books. He wrote an ethical letter to his family. He said, you should know, any second, any opportunity that you're about to say Lashon Hara, you have the urge, and you stop yourself. You could say the gossip, you could say the character assassination, you could say the character flaws, but you don't, the amount of reward that you will get, even the angels can't see that, can't comprehend it. So, we need Mashiach so desperately, and one of the main things that brings it is unconditional love. And what brings unity amongst the Jews? Last week's Parsha, God gave us the Torah because we were Ke'ish Echad B'Lev Echad. We were like one unity, like one heart, one being. So may Hashem help us to never fall into the trap of the Satan, to do character assassination and gossip. Rather, if we act and be passive and not comment on people's character flaws and gossip, we are going to get an unlimited, unimaginable amount of reward. And the proof is how much reward God gave to the dogs, that forever they get all the unkosher meat. We have to give it to them rather than sell it or give it to other animals. Please don't forget to subscribe and have a wonderful Shabbat.